Hey, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
I just got off a call with Ron, Randy, and Ralph and Jeanette and Mr. McClellan, so they should be coming on shortly too. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Ron.
Gabriella, you on?
I'm here.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm in. That's all.
You're here.
All right.
Gabriella, I'm on, but it wants to do an update now.
I have you on for audio, Julie.
Hello.
What?
You're on for audio for the call-in.
Oh, okay. So I can't watch the meeting?
You can, but you can remain on the phone for a call-in.
Okay. I want to do both.
You can.
What's up? 7 o'clock?
So Gabriella, you give me the hi sign and we'll start.
Give me 1 second. I just want to.
Oh, take your time.
Okay, the recording started, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. The June 8th meeting of the Milltown Borough Council will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Farkas?
Here.
Councilman Dixon?
Here.
Councilman Legati?
Here.
Councilwoman Newbauer?
Here.
Councilman Peretti?
Here.
Councilman Zamorano?
Here.
Mayor, we have 6 present.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular business meeting of the Borough Council was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posted filing and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official borough newspapers, Home News Tribune, and Teleledger Publishing Companies on January 9th, 2020. Renotice of access to the meeting via teleconference was submitted on June 3rd. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after the agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. Now we will have a moment of silence and a salute to our flag. We'll start with the moment of silence. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda, we have items for discussion. Will the clerk please read the item up for discussion, please?
Discussion of 2018 Milltown Municipal Audit.
Any discussion by the council?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to give a short summary of what went on in that meeting.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So the Finance, Administration, and Planning Committee met with the Borough Auditor virtually on May 21st. And at this point, the governing body is going to certify the 2018 audit, although we should be certifying the 2019 audit at this point. So as a general matter of practice, the governing body is going to certify the audit based on the comments and the recommendations in the audit, which will be found in the back of the audit, which everyone should have received by now. All the comments were addressed and answered in detail by Mr. Stankiewicz. And there were 3 items that were highlighted I just wanted to mention, and I'll make this as brief as possible. Anybody say anything? Good. Okay. So the first item was an item related to payroll. And again, these are all comments. They're not recommendations. But the payroll item, the payroll item involved some overtime that lacks supporting documentation. And it's something that, since it's related to the 2018 audit, may be something that continues on to 2019. Since we don't have the 2019 audit yet, we're not sure about that. The audit comment that was made was that the lack of a physical presence of a chief financial officer at that point may have contributed to this issue. The second item related to interfunds receivable and payable. Same thing. At the end of each year, those interfund payables and receivables should be closed. And again, the comment that was entered into the audit was that this may have been caused by the lack of a physical presence of a CFO in the borough. And then the last item was a financial procedure item. And I bring this up because it's actually the same item has been made going back in all previous audits, but there hasn't really been any change. The same comment keeps being made over and over again. And I guess the last thing I want to say is Mr. Stankiewicz is asked to explain in a little detail why the 2018 audit was so late, and he gave a few answers to that question. One of his answers was that again, the lack of a physical presence of a CFO, and the issues with the state software that he had. He also mentioned that his being short-staffed might have contributed to this issue. So at this point, on this date, as the chair of the finance committee, based on the comments in the audit, and based on our meeting with Mr. Stankiewicz on May 21st, I recommend that the governing body accept a 2018 audit. But I want to make sure that everyone understands that it does not appear that there was adequate oversight over the last several years. And that's something, and when I say oversight, I mean over the chief financial officer of the borough, the BA of the borough, and Mr. Stankiewicz's firm, and that's something that's not going to continue moving forward. So the Finance Administration and Planning Committee looks forward to working with the Personnel Department or the Personnel Committee and other members of the council on addressing the lack of a physical borough CFO and on receiving a prompt delivery of the 2019 audit by Mr. Stankiewicz so that a seamless transition can take place with the borough's new auditor as soon as possible. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from anyone else on the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to proclamations. So I have the honor of making a proclamation for National Public Works Week, which was actually last month, but it didn't really coincide with our meetings. So I'm going to read it, and then I just have a quick comment. The official proclamation declaring May 17th, May 23rd, 2020, National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the borough of Milltown. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and the children in the borough of Milltown to gain knowledge and to maintain a progressive interest in understanding the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas 2020 marks the 60th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association. And whereas John D. Rockefeller said, the secret of success is to do the common things uncommonly well. The Milltown Public Works Department should be recognized for their abilities and their determination to provide service to the residents of Milltown that may be commonly overlooked. And now, therefore, I, Trina Mayer, Mayor of the Borough of Milltown, do hereby declare May 17th to May 23rd, 2020, National Public Works Week, and I encourage all residents to recognize the dedication of our Public Works Department and extend their gratitude. By witness thereof, I appear to set my hand and cause the official seal of the Borough of Milltown to be affixed this 8th day of June, 2020. And while it was Public Works Week last month, I will say to the Department of Public Works Committee and the Utility Committee, as well as all of the employees in those departments, especially during this COVID-19 crisis, their dedication to the citizens of Milltown is appreciated by me and everyone on the council and everyone in the borough. They've done a fantastic job, no interruption in any of our services. We've picked up bulk, metal, all of the usual things that some other towns have not done. So I hope that when you see your garbage man out or you're just riding around, you'll give them a big thank you because we really appreciate it. So thanks for letting me read that tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we will go on to minutes. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Sorry, I gotta get my, what is the council's pleasure for the minutes of April 13th, 2020?
Move that the minutes be accepted as typed.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Farkas, a second by Councilman Legati to accept the minutes as typed. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Legati,
Aye.
Councilwoman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Aye.
Councilman Zambrano.
Phil, you're on mute.
I didn't hear, Phil, we didn't hear you.
You can use your space bar to temporarily take yourself off of mute as well.
Thank you, Anna.
There we go.
Is that an
Aye.
aye?
Aye.
Thank you. We have 6 ayes, Mayor.
Thank you. What's the council's pleasure for the minutes of April 27th, 2020?
Move that the
Move
minutes
that
be
these minutes be
accepted.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Dixon, second by Councilman Legati to accept the minutes as typed. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Legati,
Aye.
Councilman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Abstain.
Councilman Zambrano.
Aye.
Mayor, we have 5 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. What's the council's pleasure for the minutes of May 11th, 2020?
Move that the minutes be approved as typed.
A
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Legati, second by Councilman Peretti to accept the minutes as typed. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman Farkas, or Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Legati,
Aye.
Councilwoman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Aye.
Councilman Zambrano.
Aye.
Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. And finally, what is the council's pleasure for the minutes of the May 18th, 2020 meeting?
How about June 8th?
That's today, so that was a typo.
Okay.
Move that the minutes be
Move that
approved as
these minutes.
typed.
Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman Dixon. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Okay. Second by Councilman Zambrana. Will the clerk please call the roll?
All right, Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Legati,
Aye.
Councilwoman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, we have comments from audience on resolutions. On the agenda, if any member of the public wishes to speak on resolutions, please step forward or follow the instructions given by the clerk. These comments are limited to the resolutions listed on the agenda.
So if you're on the computer, you can see that we've just screen shared some instructions. If you're calling in through a phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. If you're on your Mac, you can press Option Y. On your PC, you can hit Alt Y, or you can, under Participants, use the ellipses to raise hand.
If you want.
I'm sorry?
I got the borough meeting on, so I'm kind of watching. Yeah, no.
Whoever's on speaking, can you put yourself on mute, please?
Okay. So again, if you would like to speak right now, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. On your PC or Mac, pressing Option or Alt Y. By choosing the ellipses near the Participants tab and choosing Raise Hand. And I'm just going to give you a minute to see if anyone chooses to.
Hi, can you hear me?
5-2.
Yes, it's Dorianne Kerber, 24 Rita Avenue. Resolution 20-1115 for proposed improvements. I'd like to have a little more details of that, please.
Ms. Kerber, can you please just state your name and address for the record?
Dorianne Kerber, 24 Riva Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does somebody have something to add about that?
Well, it's Councilman Dixon. It's improvements to the field over there. The cost of it is being, from what I understand, the cost of it is being borne by the Little League. And we are just giving them permission to go ahead and perform those tasks in maintaining that field and upgrading it to better help our Little League and the other individuals that play ball on those fields.
Yes, from what I understand, the town technically owns that field. That's why they needed to request permission prior to doing any improvements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. Seeing no more comments, we will move on to the bill list. Will the clerk please read Resolution 20-110?
Authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $1,128,075.11.
Heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion by Council President Farkas, second by Councilman Zambrana. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Legati,
Aye.
Councilwoman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, we have reports of standing committee and introduction of resolutions. A consent resolution has been prepared to cover the resolutions listed on the agenda. If any member of the council wants any resolution acted upon individually, please give me the resolution number and it will be pulled from the consent resolution. Okay, hearing none. You've heard the reading of this resolution. What is your pleasure?
Move that this
This
resolution be
resolution be
adopted.
adopted.
Okay, have a motion by Councilman Dixon, second
Second.
by Councilwoman Newbauer. Will the clerk please call the roll?
What name did you put?
Do you want me to read the resolution for the consent agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, do you? Oh, here. Hold on a second. Gabrielle, can you do that, please?
Sure. Whereas pursuant to rules of council, the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special
I
meeting.
did that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Whereas the Borough Clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the Borough Clerk has been approved without the necessity of having individual resolutions read by title.
Thank you. I didn't scroll down far enough on my notes. Appreciate that. Oh, now you've heard the reading of the resolution. What's your pleasure?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dixon, second by Councilman Ligotti. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Farkas,
Aye.
Councilman Dixon,
Aye.
Councilman Ligotti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Newbauer,
Aye.
Councilman Peretti,
Aye.
Councilman Zambrana.
Aye.
Mayor, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the reports. First, we will have Department of Finance, Administration, and Planning. Councilman Phil Zambrana.
Madam Mayor, I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to the Department of Public Safety. Councilman Nick Ligotti.
Madam Mayor, there is actually no report from any of the departments today. All I would do is ask the residents to please check the county website and the borough website for any updates for the coronavirus during this pandemic. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will go on to the Department of Utilities. Council President Randy Farkas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the month of May, the Utility Department had the following work: 50 daily station checks, 31 substation checks, 35 plus utility markouts. Water samples. Disinfectant residual testing was performed on May 6th, 13th, and 20th. TTHM and HAA sampling was performed on May 12th. All results were satisfactory. For the electric utility, various electric meters were replaced, 4 street lights were repaired, ongoing maintenance of the overhead wiring has resumed, and several deficiencies repaired. Several spans of secondary wiring were retensioned. Tree trimming was performed around primary and secondary wires in several locations. Station maintenance was performed. For the water department, preparations were made for a new round of lead and copper sampling. Bottles were distributed and samples were taken to the lab. Curb stops were located for various customers. Department members were called out for a roadway collapse on Pershing Avenue, which was caused by a broken house service. As always, the utility department works hand in hand with the utility billing department to ensure accurate utility charges. We troubleshoot faulty meters and work very hard to resolve any billing issues that occur. The utility department has been adapting to the COVID-19 crisis by implementing social distancing and keeping employees in designated vehicles so that we can be safe and continue to serve the public. We understand that there has been a paper goods shortage. Residents should only be flushing toilet paper. Our older pumps cannot process baby wipes, napkins, or paper towels, and this has been resulting in lift station failures. We pulled a pump this week and it was clogged with wipes and rubber gloves. These items must be tossed into the trash. A reminder to all residents, if you have a water, sewer, or electric emergency, you can call Milltown Police Dispatch at 732-828-2100, extension 0, for service at any time. For non-emergency situations like reporting a street light out or a leaking fire hydrant, you can call the utility office at 732-828-2100, extension 137. Or you can now report non-emergency problems on the borough website. If you have a question about water or electric service or your water or electric bill, please call 732-828-2100, extension 183. That concludes the utilities report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have the Department of Public Works and Recycling, Councilwoman Anna Newbauer.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Along with all regular curbside collections, the Public Works Department has the following to report. Street sweeping and pothole repair is ongoing. Public Works removed a down tree from Northbrook area that was impeding the flow of water. All park areas have been maintained. Catch basin cleaning is going on as manpower allows. And there is an important reminder to all residents. Please put bulk items out to the curb on the correct day. Metal is the first Wednesday of the month. TVs and electronics are the second Wednesday of the month. And non-metal bulk is the third Wednesday of the month. The Public Works Department has been able to keep these collections going during this challenging time, but we do need the residents to help by following the schedule set up each month. We want to thank all residents for their patience as collections may take a few days. Please call extension 136 with any questions. The next concrete collection is the week of July 13th through the 17th. Please call 732-828-2100, extension 187 to be placed on the list for collection. Please stay safe and check milltownnj.org or channel 15 for DPW updates. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Next, we have the Department of Environmental, Health, and Social Services, Councilman Ron Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. And next, we have the Department of Recreation, Councilman James Peretti.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only rec report that we have this evening is an echoing of what was sent out via Nixle and on the borough's website, that as of May 28th, we had the summer programs were canceled due to the most recent information that we had at hand for the state's guidelines for summer programs. So again, echoing that on the unfortunate circumstance that we had to do, but that was the decision based on the Recreation Committee recommendation, and that was put in place. I know we also have, we're fortunate enough to have the Director of Recreation here with us this evening as well to discuss if we have to, but that's all the report I have for the Recreation Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to the Administrator report.
I just wanted to echo what you had said earlier, Mayor, regarding DPW and the rest of the staff as well.
Agree.
But especially DPW for the hard work and their continued dedication to the town. We really do all appreciate it, and I'm sure the residents do as well. I also wanted to just put it out there that we are, working very hard to coming up with a plan to actually open the building to the public. And we're hoping to do that over the next couple of weeks. And that once we're ready to do that, information will be sent out over Nixle and posted on the website as well. And that's my report.
Great. Thank you to you and all of the employees for getting us through the really tough times of the COVID crisis. Next, we have our engineer report, Mr. Mike McClellan. Are you there, Mike?
Well done.
Hey.
Oh,
Good
there
evening,
you go.
everyone. Sorry, just a small computer glitch. Give me. Just a short report tonight. First item on the list, we want to advise the mayor and council that the DOT advises today that the Tracy Drive project has been approved, and subject to your basic direction tonight to advertise for bids, we will do that. And hopefully by the meeting in July, we'll have a recommendation award for you and try to get that work going during this spring and summer period. So that's some good news. They processed the application very quickly for us, and it's in the scope as we discussed at your earlier meeting. So
Great.
as long as you're okay, we'd like to advertise that for bids.
Okay. Thank you.
Next is an update on your tank. This is the water tank at Home Depot site. As you know, there's a large scaffolding being installed in an effort to begin to do the peat preparation. The scaffold, I was on site myself today. The scaffold subcontractor told me he'd be done in about 2 days. And the contractor doing the painting will start the first phase of preparation this week. As you may remember, that's a solvent wipe of the paint trails that were added to the tank coating system. After the solvent preparation, you'll see what's called a brush blast, and then the surface course will be put on, including the logo. The contractor assures us today, provided the weather is favorable, he'll be done before the July 4th weekend, as requested by Council President Parks. Next thing on our list is just to touch base quickly. We had a meeting today with the Public Works Committee to discuss the upcoming DOT trust fund applications. Various roads were discussed, including Clayton Court, Hague and Patane and West Foch Avenue as the 4 roads that are probably high on the list of the committee. There's been no decision yet. We plan on meeting and working with the committee the next couple of weeks. And then depending on whether there's a second meeting, we'll get back to the rest of the council with a recommendation and make the application by the deadline of July 1st, as always. So that's basically the status on that. And obviously, any questions, I'm happy to respond.
Mike, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I see this, as you said, the scaffolding is going up on the water tower. What are they going to do with the antennas now that the antennas are back reinstalled?
There's several different types of antennas. There's antennas basically at what's the painter's rails. Those are temporarily, based upon what I saw today, they look like they've been disconnected so the painter can paint behind them. The antennas that are attached to the handrail at the top of the tank generally are not going to be displaced. The only thing we had to do was get, when the painter is in that zone, the Verizon folks or the particular company is going to shut down his antennas just for the safety of the men working out there. The paint spill did not affect the handrail, so there's not going to be any work done on those. It's basically the bowl itself is where the spills are, and those will be taken care of.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mike, just the next question. Once the painting's done, when does the logo go on?
Well, probably in about 2 days or so. As soon as the surface course sets, then the other coats go on.
Oh, good. Good to know. Thank you.
The logo's put in what's called a pounce pattern, and you'll see they'll tape on the outside of the tank what looks like brown paper. They have little openings in circles, and then they just take a roll and they roll over the top of the brown paper. And that creates the outline, and they fill in blanks. So it's quite an interesting operation, but that'll be done right after the surface course.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and next we have our attorney report, Mr. Peter Vignolo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor's Council President, Council members. This evening, I wanted to discuss with you Executive Order 150. And as you may know, it's an executive order that was issued last week by the governor that allows for outdoor dining to begin again a week from today. There are several different logistical issues that we need to deal with if the Borough Council is interested in pursuing it as an option for our businesses in the borough. But before I took any steps, I wanted to get some input from the council as that executive order happened mid to late last week. And by the time I had a chance to digest it and reach out to you with some information, this council meeting was already scheduled. So I figured it was easier to discuss it during my comment section, get some direction, and perhaps try to put some potential regulations into place for that to perhaps occur. Essentially, there's a couple options for how restaurants would be capable of creating outdoor dining spaces adjacent to where they exist. One would be to pursue an amended site plan application. Another would be for the council to amend its zoning ordinance to provide for outdoor dining as an accessory use under certain circumstances. And then finally, I believe it would be appropriate, given the executive order that the governor has issued, for the council to adopt a resolution that would create a temporary ability to have an outdoor dining area created. And the real question is logistically how we proceed with that and what parameters we want to put in place. But before I pursued, those logistics and parameters, I wanted to get some input from the council and the mayor as to whether that's something you guys wanted to pursue.
Thank you.
I guess my question is, do you have any questions and any ideas on what you would like to do?
Council, questions, comments?
Well, I think we should do anything we can to help the businesses, especially in these difficult times. They've been closed up for so long. I see some problems with how we're going to do this, and I think that's going to require a little bit more discussion.
Sure.
How the amount of tables, where the tables are going to go. There's a lot of problems with, issues, I'll say. I don't necessarily know if they're problems.
Well, there are things I think we're going to have to encounter and figure out how to address. I don't know that a one-size-fits-all solution is going to work for every business. I think we're really going to have to look at them on a case-by-case basis and figure out where outdoor dining could occur and what additional parameters you might want to put in place. As the council knows, and I can speak for the public at the meeting this evening, the State Department of Health has issued some somewhat significant guidelines for how outdoor dining can occur and what parameters they've already put into place, so that tables have to be 6 feet apart. Certain protections in place for the host stand, recommendations for waiting areas and reservations and things like that. So one of the things that they have put in place is smoking is prohibited at any outdoor dining area that's created in response to this executive order. So while outdoor dining may have been something that was created as an accessory use to restaurants in the past in order to provide a smoking area for their patrons, that's not something they'll be able to use at least until the end of state of emergency issued by the governor or some other modification to his order. But my recommendation would be the most logical way to handle this would be for anyone who wanted to pursue this as an option to file a zoning permit application with some sort of graphic representation of how they would want to lay out the space in order so that your zoning officer could conceivably review it and make a decision. You certainly have the ability, if you wanted more people to have input in that decision, since this is an atypical situation. Certainly your engineer, your attorney, your borough planner, your BA, anyone or all of those people could have some input. I would say I try to minimize the number of people, only because the more we can streamline the process, the greater ability we have to try to get some relief to some of these businesses. They've all been shut down for a long time, or at least limited. I know a lot of them are doing takeout, but that certainly doesn't make up for the fact that their dining rooms are closed.
Right.
Pete, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Will some of these plans be entertaining not only storefront property and having the distancing the tables and walkways as well, but would we have to entertain use of parking lot areas as well? Is that something that
you don't have to do anything or not do anything? I would say to you that many of your businesses have parking lots that are either not utilized or underutilized presently, because your parking demand is calculated based upon your fully functioning restaurants. And if their dining area isn't open, they certainly don't need all the parking that they would regularly require under your site plan ordinance. So to the extent that you have an excess of parking, you could conceivably say some portion of that could be utilized in connection with outdoor dining. But you could also indicate you want certain protections put in place for that area if it's going to be used. So, I mean, really, again, it's something that is going to have to be looked at on a case by case basis to see what someone wants to do and how they want to effectuate it. And it may be a give and take. It may be a dialogue between the borough and whomever it is, in order to see if we can come up with a plan that would allow them to open.
Thank you.
You got it.
Peter, I have one question. Liability, if any of this comes up to borough property, for example, a sidewalk in front, and if you encroach a little bit on that sidewalk, or matter of fact, use the whole sidewalk for your tables, I mean, there's a liability issue, is there not?
There's liability for the borough, but the borough would be exempt from liability, under the Tort Claims Act. So, I mean, certainly if you have an area where the sidewalk is horribly broken and the borough was inclined to allow people to utilize the sidewalk and right of way in order to do that, I don't know that would be a section you'd want to do, because it would be relatively obvious that would be a bad place to put tables and have people, So it's like any other aspect. I mean, can the borough have a liability for a pothole on the road vis-a-vis a driver? Typically only if they have actual notice and they haven't done anything about it after a period. So it's the same kind of concept. And it isn't necessarily something that you have to do. I know that the Metuchen has decided it's going to close, I believe it's at least one roadway during certain times during the week in order to facilitate creating an outdoor dining area for their restaurants. But again, it's not something that this borough has to do. It's something that you certainly have the option to do. And one of the things I can do for you, if you want me to, is going forward kind of give you a list of options that you have in trying to create outdoor dining regulations. So, but before I did that, I didn't want to come in and tell you that I spent all this time, when I ran up a really nice tab, creating these really nice outdoor dining regulations, only for you to say, no, we don't want to do that. So I wanted some direction from you guys first before I started to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Great.
I will get on that. Like I said, the ability to have outdoor dining goes into effect next Monday. One of the other things that the state's done is the Alcohol Beverage Control Division has issued a ruling that allows for bars and restaurants to seek to expand their permit to include an outdoor dining area. Looks like it's a very streamlined process that is more akin to like a social affair permit. It's not your regular license application renewal, things like that. So that's another thing that we'll take into consideration when we're doing this is recognizing that some of the places who have liquor licenses may want to try to expand them to the outdoor, and it's something that they're going to be able to do.
They have to apply to the ABC for that, I believe, correct?
They do. They apply to the ABC, then it gets sent back to the borough to get acted on by your clerk and your chief, or the chief designee, like any other special permit, like a social affair permit.
Okay.
All right, then I will get that going. I thank you for your time, and like I said, look for something from me, and we'll see how quickly we can get this up and running.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, next we will move on to old business. Does any member of the council have any old business they'd like to bring before the council tonight? Seeing none, I will move on to new business. Does any member of the council have any new business they'd like to bring before the council? If not, I do have a message from the clerk's office that I will read about the primary election. Per Executive Order 120 from Governor Murphy, the primary election has been moved to July 7th, 2020. The election will allow for in-person voting. However, a limited number of polling places will be open on Election Day, and you will only be able to cast your ballot in person using a provisional paper ballot. If you are a disabled voter and need access to an ADA device to vote on July 7th, please call the Middlesex County Board of Elections at 732-745-3471. All regulations regarding social distancing will be adhered to at the polling location. We encourage all residents and registered voters to vote by mail. Applications were sent to registered voters and are available on the borough website. The deadline to register to vote for the primary election is June 16th. The deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot for the primary election is June 30th. Information regarding the election is available on the borough website. If anyone has any questions regarding registration, polling locations, or other election questions, please contact the borough clerk's office and review the information posted to the borough website. Okay, and any others? Seeing no other new business, I will move on to audience comments. If any member of the audience wishes to speak, please give your name and address and follow the clerk's instructions to raise your hand.
So again, if you're on the computer, I did just post the raise your hand instructions. If you are calling in from your mobile device, you can hit *9 and it will raise your hand. From your Mac or PC, you can hit Option or Alt plus Y. If you have in the app, you can click the icon for raise hand, or on your computer, you can go under the participants tab, choose the ellipses and the option for raise hand. As soon as I see raise hands, I will click on you and announce the name or last four digits of your phone number. And please just identify yourself by your full name and address for the record. So we're looking for raised hands right now. Okay. Sharon Walters.
Hello, this isn't Sharon. This is actually Gary Walters at 6 Maple Shade Road. I have a question, or not a question, yeah, I guess it is a question regarding the outdoor dining. Has any businesses even requested outdoor dining?
Yeah, Gary, we've heard that there's a couple businesses that are interested already.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, if no one's even requesting it, then why go through all the work of drawing up a plan if no businesses are coming forward? But if you say they are, then absolutely we need to do that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
And I can just represent to the council. I've been contacted by legal counsel for a couple businesses regarding that issue and asking if the borough was going to be taking action in order to facilitate outdoor dining.
Okay.
Okay. The next person with the raised hand is just identified as iPhone. You've been muted.
Hi, my name is Maureen Jones, and I'm calling from 30 Desmet Avenue in Milltown. I was just curious if there will be any discussion about the opening of the borough pool now that Governor Murphy has announced all public and private pools could be reopened.
So we have our recreation director online that will explain some of the backstory and give you more information about that. You wouldn't mind?
You've been unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. It's Julie Petrie, Recreation Director. At this time, we don't have any requirements or guidelines regarding what Governor Murphy had announced today.
Could you just expand a little on the reasoning originally for the decision?
It was recommended by the Recreation Committee. There was recommendations done on background regarding the CDC regulations at the time that the decision was made. There, I don't know how in depth you want me to go with what.
Just a little bit about what the other towns, the decision that you came to several weeks ago, at what the other towns are doing, what the guidance is, and what you were waiting or hoping to hear from, you know, your colleagues that are in the aquatics arena, as far as guidelines go.
So everyone, with my colleagues in the aquatics, they were all waiting on the governor's response and order. And they all had to either make a decision, postpone. Several towns have already made the decision, summer camps, the pool, and they did so. And there was a timeline that we needed to, you know, meet in order to be up and running. And the other towns made that decision. We all collaborated. We discussed in depth with aquatics, NJRPA, my colleagues at NJRPA, and there was a lot of discussion with Board of Health guidelines, preliminary guidelines, the CDC, and it was presented to the committee, and then the decision was made. So the area towns, I don't know an update at this time what their decision is. Of course, with the news that was presented today, I know a lot of the area towns have closed their camps and will not reopen. Some area towns have closed pools and will not reopen. I can't speak for private pools. I can just speak on, you know, who was in the meeting and what was, you know, discussed.
So the guidance, the governor announced today that the schools could open in 2 weeks. However, there is no guidance that will be coming tomorrow as to the health department's recommendations on what the requirements will be to open anything, which is frustrating at best. You would think that they could do it all at the same time. So the governor comes out today, says we're opening the pools, or you can open the pools in 2 weeks. However, there's no guidance on capacity, safety, all of the things that I think, Julie, that's what I was hoping that you could speak to, all of the things that we need to keep the public safe and as well as the staff safe. Have you gotten it? You haven't gotten those guidelines yet, have you?
I have not gotten the guidelines yet. I can elaborate on the preliminary guidelines that we have discussed from CDC and Board of Health. I don't know of course, the percentage that's allowed in the pool yet. You know, those guidelines haven't been put forth, as you said, Mayor. I do know that there would be extra staff needing, extra training needed. It's going to look like if this season was to happen so that everyone is clear, it would look nothing like a previous season. You were talking about the lifeguards, first of all, now are frontline. They're recognized by OSHA and POSHA as frontline employees. They must be provided with proper PPE. That means each lifeguard has their own board, has their own mask, has their own PPE on themselves. They are frontline employees, which mean their only job, as always, is to do a save. And which was discussed, our parents prepared that their child, 16, 17, 18 years old, will have to, hands down, save a life. And it was recommended, of course, they do the rear approach recommended, but everything goes down by the wayside. If they have to save a life, they're in the water saving a life, and they are putting their life on the line to do so. That is something that was taken into consideration, along with our older citizens that are coming through, our high-risk citizens that are coming through the gate. You know, are we putting them at risk? What happens if someone does show symptoms or is symptomatic at the time that the pool is open, or there is a surge, or there is something that happens? You know, what is our protocol then? We don't have all this in place because we don't have the requirements or guidelines at all. We know that we would need, just to give you some guidelines, we would need extra staff. The preliminaries, if you could not have bathrooms open with the social distancing and someone to enforce it, which would require extra staff, we had to keep the restrooms closed, which isn't possible. So we would need additional staffing for the restrooms. We need sanitizing stations all around the pool in different areas. We need on-deck personnel to enforce the social distancing. We need to make sure it was recommended that all the chairs and the lounge chairs and the tables were removed. That way there is no spread. This was preliminary, so this has nothing to do with what just came out, and we don't know what the requirements are going to be. So it was recommended that we remove all the lounge chairs. Then we need people on deck to make sure that the families that are coming to the pool are social distancing from the other families that are there, the other people. What do you do with children that are coming to the pool? Because right now, I believe it is still, correct me if I'm wrong, that all masks must be worn from 2 years old up. So if you are in that kind of situation, now all children have masks, of course not in the pool. But don't forget, our head is above the pool. Yes, I believe that it was stated that chlorine and the chemicals in the pool kill this virus. However, the head is not submerged the whole time you're in the pool, and that is where the virus is spreading, is from your mouth, your nose, your head, the top. So if you are above water, someone has to be in the pool to make sure that there is social distancing within the water. All this, what I'm entailing is not the responsibility of the lifeguards. So you're discussing, you know, we're talking about extra staff in the water, on deck, sanitizing. It was also discussed that we would have to shut down for a period of time to ensure the safety of our patrons, that they are secure, and we have to sanitize the whole pool. The railings getting out of the pool, the slide structure, that's another issue. Yes, there's chlorine that is constantly running down the slide structure, but preliminary recommendations were to shut down your slides or any pool splash pads or whatnot. And that would mean that the slide would be closed. We have the stairs going up. We have, you know, the kids hold on the sides as they first touch. The chlorine is not there. I understand about the outside and the UV rays also, so that was also taken into consideration. We also talked about doing, I see, you know, maybe a residents only and not non-residents. There was a lot taken into consideration regarding, you know, if we were going to open, if it wasn't, and this was all recommendations from colleagues from all over the state of New Jersey, and we also met with across the country. So in our National Recreation and Parks Association, we met with them as well and got their take on it, because like Texas, they're open all year round. You know, what are they doing? You know, what are these other states doing to help the cause? You know, help it along to have recreation. And we realize that it's very important. It's a quality of life, and people want to use it for exercise, and it's a social. We've been in the house for, 2+ months now. So I understand that. And that was brought forward as well. We get that. To protect ourselves, we would have to do a waiver. We would have to have someone, are we doing temperatures at the gate before you come in? We had to do a questionnaire. We would have to do a questionnaire. Have you been exposed to anyone with COVID in the past 14 days? And so there's a lot, waivers, protecting, of course, the borough, protecting the patrons, which is huge. So there is a lot more coming, I'm sure, with the requirements and the guidelines from the CDC and the Board of Health. As some of you may know, we are under the County Board of Health. So we don't have our own Board of Health department in Milltown. We report to the county, and the county in turn reports to the state. So it kind of trickles down. If the State Board of Health, comes in and says, no, you can't do this or you must do this, our County Board of Health falls under that. It's the state. So we have to, of course, follow the guidelines for that. There, in the preliminary, there was signage that had to be put in place, and it had to be approved. And we have to, we would have to get that made up. So there is a lot that is background, and I am available to talk to anybody that has questions, suggestions. We are not on social media. So the rec department is open. We can take calls. I have my email available on the website. We can certainly take calls, and if you have a specific question, we could certainly answer it instead of, going to another, a rumor or what have you, or I heard this, I heard that, or what other towns are doing. Absolutely. We see that all around us as well. And we want to have the quality of life that Milltown always has. But if we can't do that safely for everyone, and that's children. Children is a huge part of all our programs in recreation. And we see the numbers now today, what the governor announced today's numbers. We're hitting 40 now with these children getting this infection. How do we want to put everyone more at risk? We're doing a great job. So I don't have the answers myself, of course, because this is not, one person's decision. The committee came together and we went over all the requirements, the recommendations that were set forth at the time. Again, we don't have the requirements or guidelines, which Madam Mayor said that it's very frustrating. They put this news out and then we don't have the guidelines to answer any questions. So we don't know yet.
Julie, thank you very much for that. I know you guys have met several times and did a lot of hard work. And had our meeting been tomorrow night, we would have had more information. I think that one of the recommendations that's going to come out tomorrow that I heard on the call today was limited capacity as well. So how do you run something if you can only have 25 to 50% of the normal capacity? So it's a lot to consider. But thank you for doing that. Does anybody else? Go ahead, Nick. Did somebody want to say? Somebody else want to say? Oh, Jane.
I'll say something. I just want to say, as the chair of the Recreation Committee and meeting with Julie very frequently, I just want to say thank you to Julie for taking a ton of meetings with her peers and putting together a lot of information together. And the committee was really focused on making our decision based on facts and information we have on hand, and not making emotional decisions which we want to have quality of life, and we want to project and have some sense of normal that Milltown is used to. It was a tough decision, and I just want to thank Julie and thank the rest of the committee members that put in a lot of meetings to come to that decision. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if
Yes,
you don't
Nick.
mind.
No, please.
The decision to not open the pool was not made very lightly, and we wanted to get that out to the residents as soon as possible. And some people might say we jumped the gun and we did this too soon. We did that knowing what some of the preliminary restrictions were going to be, that they were not going to lighten up some of those restrictions. Most of all those restrictions, if not all of those restrictions, are going to be the same. So we wanted to let Milltown residents know as soon as possible so that they could make whatever arrangements they had to make so that they would know that the pool is not going to be opened. Now, we relied on our professionals. We relied on the rest of the committee, recommendations from the county, recommendations from our rec director. And, you know, people might not understand, but we also have to make a financial decision in this as well. You know, the borough is hurting in these times right now with not getting all of its revenue in. And it's not the biggest factor for why we decided not to have the pool open this year, but it is one of the factors. You know, and I just want people to understand that we didn't just make an off the cuff decision. We took a ton of meetings. We had a lot of experts that Julie was on calls constantly, getting us all the information. And I don't foresee anything changing, even if the governor says we can open pools. For Milltown, based on our economic and our social factors and what's going on right now, I don't think that we can open the pool. I know that we can't open the pool. And that's why I wanted everybody to understand this. It's not just we can't open the pool because we don't want to. You know, there's PPE cost, there's additional employees cost, there's if we have to take temperatures, there was a whole slew of things that came into play along with the financial burden of it as well. Now, I know some people would say, raise the price, I'll pay it. The price would be astronomical, it'd be a waste of everybody's time. I just want everybody to know that it was not taken lightly. It was a serious conversation that happened over weeks of meetings. And, you know, I would like to, you know, also say thank you to Julie Petrie for sitting in on all those meetings and bringing us back all that information and making her recommendation to us. It helped us greatly make a decision.
All right. I also just wanted to make a comment and echo everything that Julie, James, and Nick say. The other thing about this, and I think Julie touched upon it a little bit, was the planning for the pool goes in months in advance. And when the planning for setting up the pool and getting it ready and getting everything set up for the pool, at that point, we barely had any information. And even as Julie was getting this information, logistically, there's no way at this point to get everything into place for us to have a season for the pool, if that makes sense for everyone. It's past that we received the preliminary guidelines past the point of no return already. We didn't get the information in time, I feel like, to be able to even plan for what we would have to for the pool.
And the quick answer to that is, well, I can get it done in 2 weeks. No, you can't. It's impossible. You don't know all the restrictions that are going to be set down. Just the preliminary restrictions were overwhelming. And if you think you can, trust me, with what we were discussing and what we were handed, there's no way it can be done in 2 weeks. It's impossible, and it can't be done. I wish it could. I really do, but it just can't be.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Do we have any other comments or questions, audience?
We do. I have Kate McDonald. Kate McDonald.
Hi, sorry, I was on mute. Caitlin McDonald, 8 Harkins Road.
Okay. And what's your comment, Ms. McDonald?
I just wanted to bring up the recent racist incident that occurred in Albert Avenue about a week and a half ago. And I was wondering how the town planned to address this and if we had any plans as a town to address racism as an issue?
I can try and answer that question for you, Katie. I don't know, and I don't believe that there was ever a complaint made to the police department. I'm not 100% about that, but I'm going to say I'm pretty sure that it was just a post on social media that people were telling contact the police, and I don't think anybody ever did, to be honest with you. And I'm not 100% on that. And if they did, I have full confidence in our police department that they would do the proper investigation. But I am currently not aware of any investigation that the police department had to do, based on that post, nor did the school have to do, because I'm not sure that an official complaint was ever made.
Was somebody else going to say something? So, Katie, I will say that, as mayor, I have been contacted by many people. I know there's a lot of people that are very passionate, not only about the incident that took place in Milltown, but just things that are going on nationwide. And we are all aware of that. We are certainly sensitive to that. And, as I said immediately, I am happy to listen as the mayor to residents' concerns, point you in the right direction. I know there's a lot of people that are going to gather to share resources. And, so I look forward to how that grows. I think, the grassroots organization of all of you folks coming together will make a huge impact. And I think in the next few weeks, you will hear more and more about that. So I look forward to that. But of course, we're all pained to, have to deal with any of this, not only just as a borough of Milltown, but individuals as well. Anything else?
So I just wanted to, we had a longer discussion, just let everyone know if they're looking to make a comment. The way to make a comment is to raise your hand and speak for the record. Any texts or chats are not being monitored or responded to. You must raise your hand and speak on the record. And again, to do that, I will share the screen for information, which is if you're calling from your phone to dial *9, option Y, Alt Y from your computer, the app to click raise hand or to choose participant and ellipses, and the option for raise hands.
Gabriella, I just want to confirm for those listening in, that means that comments in the group chat will not be considered for comments. They must raise their hand and speak during the meeting and announce their name and their address to be considered audience comments, correct?
Yes. Not everyone will have access to chat, so in order to be on the record and to have a response, you must raise your hand. Again, I will share the screen for instructions. From your mobile device, if you're calling in, *9. From your Mac or PC, option Alt Y, or you can choose the participant tab with the option for raise hand, or you can choose the raise hand icon in your app. We do have someone raise their hand. I have identified as Annie. Annie, please state your name and address for the record.
Annie seems to still be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Ann Bricado, and I'm at 137 North Main. The question I have is, I had made a suggestion about a drive-by parade for the 4th of July, and I was wondering if anything is going to go forward with that. Because I feel like if we can't go to a parade, let it come to us and just let the drive-by go through every single block in a neighborhood. I think that, this way people can be on their lawn and, celebrate. Just saying. I was wondering if anybody thought about that or is thinking about it. Who's doing all that sniffling? Okay, I'm sorry.
Not me.
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
see me. Anybody want to take the question? Or does the liaison to the 4th of July committee want to, Phil? You're on mute. And you're still on mute.
Hold down.
There you go.
So as a liaison to the 4th of July committee, there have been a lot of ideas that have been presented, lots of talks that have been going back and forth. At the end of the day, at this point, there's nothing certain. There's nothing on any type of plan that can be presented at all. The decision was made to cancel the 4th of July festivities for public safety issues. If anything does come out of any further discussions, it will be something that will come out of the public safety meeting, or the public safety committee, I should say.
Okay, so when are we going to know, like, what is actually going to happen the 4th of July?
As a public safety chair, I can tell you, Annie, that we're in discussions with the 4th of July committee to have some things done. Unfortunately, for the same reason that they canceled the parade, they really can't disclose what they want to do. But just to answer your quick question, we're working on some kind of a drive-by throughout town.
Yes!
We're trying to get it done, but I can't promise you anything before you start celebrating. Okay, things are in the works, but nothing is finalized. But we're trying to keep everybody safe. We're trying to do the right thing. But that being said, safety will come first, no matter what. So we're working on something. I can't promise you anything, but we'll try our best.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments, questions? We're getting some background noise, so I think maybe we might need people to go back on mute. Thanks. Any other hands raised, Gabriella?
Sorry, I muted myself too. There are no other hands raised.
Okay. All right. So last call for audience comments. Going once, going twice. Okay. We will close audience comments and move on to council comments.
If I
Please.
may, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Newbauer, go ahead.
I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the passing of Gerard Capella, who dedicated so much of his time and efforts to this community throughout his lifetime. Though I was blessed to know him as an uncle, many of our town's residents may know him from his time spent volunteering and serving as an active community leader within the borough. My uncle started his life of service early on, volunteering with the Milltown Rescue Squad as a junior member, which starts at age 15, and continuing to serve actively for more than 20 years. During his time with the squad, he held multiple leadership positions, including serving as a field officer, as the organization's captain, and as the organization's president. He led the squad through many difficulties during his time there, most notably the recovery after Hurricane Irene. Wanting to service his community further, my uncle also served on the Milltown Borough Council as a council member, as well as 2 terms as the council president. a proclamation from last December notes that he worked on the finance, electric utility, shade tree, and public safety committees throughout his tenure on the council, and that the borough of Milltown will reap the benefits of his compassion, dedication, and ingenuity for many generations. Past his service here in town and in our extended community in his police career, my uncle was also a husband, a father, a papa, a son, a brother, an uncle, and a friend to many. He gave much to his community, and I think that we will find that he continues to give even after he has moved on from here, an example for how we can give back to our community through service. I would like to personally thank my Uncle Gerard for all of his years of volunteer service to the borough of Milltown. And I would also like to thank my Aunt Diana and my cousins Stacy, Megan, and Matthew for allowing us to share your husband and your father throughout all these years. That's all. Thank you.
Very
Well
nice.
said, Anna. Very well
Thank
said.
Anna,
Beautiful. Very well said.
thank you so much for the lovely sentiments, and we were all really sorry to hear about Gerard's passing. And the entire Capella family has and I'm sure everyone here's heartfelt condolences. It was a shock, and we're really sad to hear about it. So, and thank you for making such a nice comments about your uncle. Really appreciate it. Does anyone else from the council have any comments this evening? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Council President Farkas, second by Councilman Legati. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all for joining us, and thank you to the council members, and that will conclude our meeting, and I'll virtually gavel it closed. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.